Seeking the Wise.
With Aaron and Alexander discussing the Just philosophy.
Covering self-development, emotional processing, conscious relationships, and 5 levels of overall wellness.
Welcome, everyone, to the return of the Wise Guys podcast. Wise podcast. Here with me is Alexander. I am Aaron Keith.
Hello, beautiful people. So good to be with you again.
Yes. So Alexander and I took a little well-needed hiatus this year. It's been about half a year. So it's been good. I mean, I've been doing a lot of growing. Not that I haven't ever not been growing, but it's been pretty intense. And so it's been well needed and a well needed kind of break for us to kind of re-energize our creativity with this podcast and the information that we want to bring and how we want to bring it. And I'm excited in the area that we're going in. And Alexander, what do you think?
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit more lighthearted, and we're still going to share information about the philosophy, the Just philosophy, and my private work. But at the same time, we're just going to share more personal things, things that we enjoy, and how it relates to the philosophy and the wise connection with all of the past episodes that we've had. So we just want to give information in as many different versions as we can, and possibly show the light-hearted side of us both, and we can actually be kind of fun. And might even laugh a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're going to try to make Alexander laugh a little bit because he does that a lot in his private time. So, but I think first we each have, and I guess we're going to try to do this every episode, is to share something. And Alexander and I are into music, vinyl records specifically, or, just listening to music at 432, and we can talk about that, what that means another time. But Alexander, what do you have to show us today?
Yeah, well, just kind of spur of the moment idea to just bring in possibly each episode an album that we both really enjoy, and maybe give a little bit of a discussion around why that is, why we do enjoy it. And this doesn't necessarily have to be that Aaron and I like the same album. We have very different tastes. We have some similar tastes as well. But let's see here. For today, I'm going to start with Betty Davis. And she's an artist from the early 70s. And I really, really respect her. And why I chose her first today is that she had a very small window in the music world, so to say. And she was married to Miles Davis for approximately a year. And she was really one of the originators of African-American singer, performer, funk expression. And her whole point was, why can these men express the way that they can, the Mick Jaggers and the David Bowies, and even be sexual? But women were judged for that. And so she was a real pioneer in showing women could be many different things. And so she had her own stage persona, and she was very reserved off stage. But when she went on stage, she just really came alive in her musical character. And so her musicians on her first couple of albums were connected to Sly and the Family Stone. So a lot of really good groove and funk and self-expression. So when I play this on my vintage system at 432, it has amazing power of creativity. It's really something that I use to pump myself up. So everything isn't always about the message that's being given in it lyrically, although those are very useful, but it's also the vibe that it gives across, and that self-expression is what I'm focusing on this particular sharing.
So, funny story about Betty Davis. I know, obviously, everyone has heard of her, but I had a library skills teacher in elementary school named Miss Anderson. Shout out Miss Anderson. She's probably no longer with us because she was like 70 when I was in second grade. And we would go to the library and she'd make us like chant these things. And I assume she was obsessed with jazz because we talked a lot about jazz people in these chants. And one of them was like, Betty Davis, we love you. Lisa Simpson sings the blues. We do too. Jazz hot, jazz cool. All that jazz at Moriarty School.
Wow.
So yeah, so that
Interesting.
some other things will come to me as time goes on. But yeah, I have these like these little parts of like these memories where I'm like chanting things, and every now and then they'll pop up, and I'll laugh with my sisters about them because we'd be like, "Do you remember we had to say this stuff?" Or at the end we'd say "Bird lives" and go on one foot. And is that a guy? Bird lives or bird lives, or is that a guy?
I'm not
Jazz
sure
guy?
about that.
I feel
Yeah.
like it might be
Yeah.
bird lives. I don't know. Just random stuff like that. That as a second grader,
Right.
you have no idea what you're saying. But now it's like,
Right.
oh, I was
Sure.
taught a little culture back in second grade, and I just didn't know it at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And she was so fairly unknown that I'm surprised that she made it in a song for kids like that. The theme of these sharings is going to be what it elicits in us. And I really want to focus on that expression because I feel like so many people are holding their expression back. And in certain situations, that is very adult like and very necessary in community. But make sure that you people are getting enough expression. As the saying in the past has been, is speak it to the wind, the trees, to Mother Earth, but express. And that's where it's connecting with the philosophy is an understanding that we don't need someone to hear our expression to experience the expression. So even though I'm using music as the example of this, you can go out and say anything out in nature. So anything that's weighing on your heart, be willing to go talk to the person, place, or thing just through nature and see what shifts in your life by just putting that thought out on the energetic grid and then making your peace and coming back to neutrality with it.
I appreciate that because I almost was going to prejudge myself for my pick because I was like, oh, well, mine's not as like deep. And, Betty Davis did some cool things and she was an interesting person. And not to say that my guy isn't interesting, but like I don't have a story behind it. And I'm sure it's not as interesting as Betty Davis. So, so I will, and honestly, that's a typical culture thing where we kind of downplay when. So I'm like doing that to myself right here, right now, live, where I'm kind of downplaying my pick because it's not as deep, or so I'm like self-judging myself. So that's a pattern of mine, and I'm sure a pattern of a
Good to
lot of people's
recognize.
out there. So,
Yeah.
bring it to light and discuss it, and then I'll be aware of it as time goes on. But I have this "When the Light Breaks" album. It is electronic. I don't know if I would electronic trance, maybe. I don't know the genre. But it's a guy named Vandalo, and I don't know. I got into this kind of music within the last year, and I ordered his album around December, and I just never received it. And so I reached out to him on Instagram, and he was like, "Oh man, sorry about that. I probably still have some in my attic." So he's like, do you want your money back or do you want the album? And I was like, man, I really want the album. And I'm like, can you sign it for me? And so he's like, yeah, no problem. So I got his signature on you probably can't see that,
That's
but
cool.
it's right there in silver.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, and I don't know. I can't remember what it actually looks like because some people may not know that like vinyl comes in all sizes and even shapes now. So I think it's cool
Colors.
to show some off, but here's what this one looks like. I think this one's called
Yeah.
like the ghost pattern, where you have the little, I don't know, dots.
Yeah, it's very
but
cool.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, some come in different shapes. Like I think some people know that I sell vinyl on the side, and there's an artist named Laffy. Some people probably know her. I think she's jazz, like modern jazz, and she has made some vinyl and heart shaped for her single. So the record's actually heart shaped, and the songs on the inside. So your needle's not like jumping over the heart part, but stuff like that's pretty cool. Like I saw there's they just released Jaws out there, and there's a bite taken out of it out of the record on the side. So that's pretty cool.
What would you say the music elicits?
Oh yeah, so
in you?
it's to me, it's energizing because it's kind of like up tempo. Like it makes me want to move my body and dance. So I'll throw this on and I'll just like move my body. So I kind of use it for that. I'll be in the car listening to it and just like move it around. So it does help me bust a move, I guess.
Right on.
So I think you have an instrument around you. You might have a couple. We kind of talked about this before, but yeah, what you got for us?
Well, today I do have a crystal bowl that is been merged with quartz crystal and selenite and the color yellow. This is tuned to 528 hertz, which some say is the frequency of unconditional love. And that is a C sharp. So it lines up with between the root chakra and the second chakra. And this is where I explain to people that we have an emotional love that resides in the heart chakra, but that unconditional love is connected to our safety, security in that root chakra, and then the second chakra being connected to our creativity, our sexual energy, and the emotion worry. So the root chakra is the note C, and the second chakra is the note D. So I'm going to just play this and this is in between as a C sharp. So see, in order to be in unconditional love or to experience that, you need to be solid in your root and second chakra. And so this is where we do self-development work and where the Just Philosophy comes in to help make sure that all of those vibrations and emotional connections are balanced so that we can be in more of a universal love state. So let me just play this for a few minutes without talking. It's a beautiful tone, beautiful tone. So all of you, focus when you're listening to this possibly on that area between the base of your spine and your navel. The base of the spine is the root chakra. The navel's right around the navel is the second chakra. So see if you can feel that energy in that area.
Do you have the sitar in the room with you?
I do, but it's not presently tuned.
I was just asking because you could hear a little vibration, so I think maybe the bowl was setting off the strings, which is crazy. That vibration would do that.
Yes, it does do that, and that could have certainly been what that was, because it's literally right beside me, and so some of the sympathetic strings were probably picking up on
which was happening at the Sound Journey that you did this past weekend that I was a part of, and it was a great turnout under the stars. And so when you were playing some of the bowls, I could hear some of the strings in the background going off. But if you, so this was an interesting sound journey because usually Alexander sticks to similar instruments every time, but this time he definitely mixed things up, and you did like a bullhorn at one point, which was newer. I haven't heard that in a while. And then you played this one instrument that I almost lost it laughing. And I guess a lot of other people had the same reaction because it was just so outside of what you would have. And so for people watching on YouTube or Spotify, you could see Alexander's holding it up. I guess you would call it a death whistle. And it was very shocking to go from like being in like a meditative state and then hearing this, because it's not traditionally what you may hear, but I guess that's also part of being in the sound journey, is to hear sounds that may not just be in resonance with your body, because we're not here just to flow and feel good. It is like dissonance is a big part of the sound journey, right?
Yeah, because dissonance is what helps us to clear out energy, similar to a shaman using a shaker or something like that. So, and see, all sounds have an association. So it's normally not the sound you're hearing at the present moment that you don't like, but see, people will say, "Oh, I don't like that sound." But what is actually happening from a sound therapist standpoint is you have a resistance to the frequency range that that sound is creating from your past. So, see, it is something real. That resistance is real. But I want to help people to understand that you can learn to lean into that friction, make love with that sound, so to say, and stop resisting it. And it can release an energetic blockage that maybe you've carried most of your life. So this is why, yes, the sound journeys are about harmonious sounds and things kind of taking you away, but it's also about bringing in sounds that we may or may not have positive associations with. And the secret to letting those, helping that energetic field come into balance is allowing the sound rather than resisting it. And many times there will be a flushing sound. So I'm going to give an example of what this sounds like. And so prepare about that.
That's so wild.
So see, it made Aaron laugh. And see, to a child, I think it would. But some people did come up and say that it was actually scary for them. So it's not necessarily meant to be scary, but the fact that there's an association with that gives a person an opportunity to see with their mind and their experience go, no, this is just a whistle. This is not anybody going through anything negative or straining or anything like that it may be associated with from the past. So the beauty of sound wellness is learning to work with harmony and dissonance together, and this is the way the ancient cultures did it.
Yeah, and one of the examples of that in a real world situation would be, being around your parents, and they have a certain frequency, the way they talk, the way they act, the way they move around, the way like my dad kind of like has a large energy moving around the house, like just being around that. If I wasn't conscious, I would just feel annoyed. But because I'm conscious, I can point out, or because I'm consciously looking at this, I can point out exactly what it is that's annoying me at that moment. And it is just a frequency. It's just a frequency that they hold and that we've grown up with. So we have it usually inside of us, and that's why we notice it and it drives us crazy. But it is the same thing, like to break that association, to move past that. Like you would work with that frequency, right?
Yes, and see, many people even attract people in with characteristics of their parents, and many times they're negative characteristics. So they'll carry that frustration because, see, we get addicted to these emotions. And I want people to understand this, that if you experience an emotion over and over and over, especially from 0 to 7 years old, see, it becomes part of who you are. So there's not many people that say that they want to be around dysfunction, but many times they'll get out of a dysfunctional family and then get with a mate that carries very similar characteristics, or the very opposite extreme. It's normally one or the other. And so our subconscious will bring things into our field that we don't even like, but feel comfortable in. And so this is why some people will stay in toxic relationships way longer than they need to, because they're actually comfortable in the toxicity, and the idea of changing that is extremely fearful. It's understandable.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up something that we were talking about, sound and how useful it is. So that I did combo, which is like they put a frog secretion on your arm, and it has peptides, and it makes you kind of vomit and stuff like that to purge. And part of the ceremony, as I'm feeling this, the woman was using sound. She had like these like clanging things, which is like spoons being like clanged together, and she's like doing it all around my head, and it's to like create such friction and such like nausea that that, the stuff that needs to come out will come out. But in the moment you're like so annoyed by it because it's just like all these sounds and just like this chaos as you're internal, and you're feeling all this like energy kind of boil up inside you. And so I thought that was interesting that sound played a big role in that ceremony to induce the, I guess, the vomiting or the nausea.
Yeah, and the speed of that, faster rhythms create more of a purging type thing. Slower rhythms help to calm the energetic field in the mind down. So this is exactly what shamans did in ancient cultures, knowing how to use sound and when to use it. And that's something that, of course, I've been very interested in and studied for over 20 some years, the effects of music and sound on people. And there is a difference between music and sound. If you want to get intimate with sound, you only need like one instrument. And so the crystal bowl is amazing for that. Tibetan bowls, didgeridoos, Native American flutes, these instruments to where you can focus on just one note. And I mean, my favorite guitar players of all times was people that could do the most with the least. And David Gilmour of Pink Floyd happens to be one of those that could just bend a note and get so much out of that one note while other players are playing hundreds of notes. And so that's kind of was my introduction to crystal bowls, because I came from being a very progressive type of musician to getting to just being one with one single crystal bowl and sitting there and just going into like tones, and each crystal bowl has harmonics in it if you really get into it. So I called it getting into the simplicity of sound. Became the most intricate music study that I ever did, was breaking music down to sound and then making love with that, just that sound, and being intimate with that sound. And it has expanded my musicianship greatly.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said that he could get a lot of, did you say a lot of range or a lot of sound out of just bending a note?
Yes. Yes, because you're actually changing the
Yeah.
note as you bend
Yeah.
it. So there's multiple notes in there. But yeah, the art is in how that bend is done and where it ends and then where it begins again.
Yeah. I found recently that when I hear music, I hear the sounds first. Like I don't hear the lyrics at all. Like the first few times that I hear a song, it's really about the sounds and how that flows. One particular sound that I love is, I think it's when they take like I don't know if they put like a piece of metal on their finger. Like they could just have like a guitar on their hand and then they just like rub that on the guitar and it just makes this like expansive noise. Do you know what I'm talking
That's
about?
a slide. Yeah, it's called a slide.
Okay, but it
And
sounds
so-
like it's like a smoke. I don't know. I associate it with smoke because it's like this like sound that kind of it it flows. Like it's not like I don't know if they're like hitting it all the time, but they're like just rubbing it and it's just like reverberating. I guess that would be the
Yeah,
word.
because instead of like notes going da
Yeah,
da da
yeah.
da da da, it's like da.
Or like or something like
So
I don't know. It
so
just it like creates this like atmosphere of sound,
Yes.
and I just
And
love that.
there's guitars called lap stills
Yeah.
that are just played
Yeah.
like that, but then a regular guitar can be played with a slide, very similar. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's that sound that is found in like old country music where they are bending a note, but it is more like it's like almost, it sounds like a combination between a slide and a bent note. So it's like like that, and it kind of like fades out. I don't know if that was a good a good example of it or not, but
Well, this is just a great conversation because we're just talking about like little
Yeah.
things in sound and music that stick out
and it makes
to us.
me
So I
it
want
makes
our
me like go
listeners-
to another place. Like it
Yes.
connects emotionally in some ways.
And so whether that's a specific instrument or a specific sound, that's what we want to invite our listeners into. Listen to your music in a different way today and just be an investigator with it rather than just singing the lyrics like you always do. be willing to listen to just the drums while you're listening to it. And it's a wonderful exercise I like to do, that when I'm wearing headphones and listening to a piece of music, I like to visit every instrument individually and just sit with that instrument and what it's doing and focus on that. And then, like, when I go around to each instrument and listen to them individually, then when I listen to it as a whole, it sounds very, very different. So wanted to share that exercise with people. As I call it active listening, that you're not passively listening, because that can get into our programming and we can just passively do a lot of things, or we actively do it and we get so much more out of it, out of the experience.
Yeah, and any listeners listening to this, if there are comments on the platform that you're listening, whether it's YouTube or Spotify, I know Spotify has comments now, leave a comment about, like, what is your favorite sound? What is your favorite instrument? Have you identified that, and if it's like a guitar, like, is it just a strum? Is it a pick? Because it'd be interesting to share the different sounds that are out there and what you guys resonate with the most.
And certainly let us know some pieces of music that you resonate with. And this doesn't have to be your favorite album of all times. That's not what we're trying to do here, but we are sharing in a way to say, this is what I get out of this piece of music. And so I really love hearing people's experiences with, of course, with my music as well, but anybody's music, because it shows the specialty that we all have a way of seeing and hearing things in a different and original manner. And I want to help people to be comfortable expressing these differences without always feeling like it's going to create some conflict. Like, for instance, neither one of us really follow sports very in depth at all anymore. We both have in the past. We've both been to extremes with that. But, as far as football goes, Aaron likes the Chargers and I like the Steelers. And we can even get together and, like, watch a game together, them two playing each other, and we don't get upset. So see, we can support other people's preferences without it invading on our preferences. And that's some growth that we've done while we've been together, is lightening up on the seriousness of things outside of ourselves, and just being able to enjoy a game no matter who wins or who loses. And both of us had to do a lot of growth to get to that point. And that's the way I want to look at any subject, that somebody doesn't have to agree with me. If I really like something for a specific reason, see, that's mine. Nobody can challenge that. But that can mean that I have to allow others to not relate to it in the same or similar way, because they haven't had the same or similar experience. And I feel like that's what our culture needs, is more expansion, to be investigators rather than so many judges.
Yeah, and this work is a lot about changing perspectives, and hearing why, like, you like Betty Davis kind of gives me a different appreciation of just, like, oh, she's not just a person. Like, here's her backstory. I know that you're a big fan of documentaries, especially about people and their struggles and all of that. And I mean, anyone, I think, would, if they saw a documentary about Betty Davis, they would have a whole new appreciation for their lives, because they would be able to tap into similarities or just have empathy on the struggles that she had.
Yeah.
And then, the energy that she brought, and how she, persevered through, all the adversity in her life.
Yeah, and even, another ode to her and why she sits so well in my heart as an artist is that she wasn't willing to compromise her art to become famous, because she had producers trying to say, hey, you need to be more disco, you need to be more like this is what's happening. And she just wouldn't. She said, I'm either going to play my original stuff the way that I hear it in my head, or I'm just not going to be a performer. And so she literally quit at the prime of her career, because she wasn't willing to do what they were asking her to do. So she would not sell out. So, there's very few artists out there that make it to a certain level, and then they're just, they're going to stick to their guns about, their art and how special it is to them. And then other people out there are willing to make these adjustments to get the money or get the praise or get the recognition. And so there's not judgment towards that. It's just that I think it's special to point out the people that's not willing to do that because they don't get the praise and recognition. Only the people that do what they're asked by the producers and record companies, they get a whole lot more airplay and that type of thing. So this is rooting for the underdog, and at the same time, they put out, 4 amazing albums, and I think there may even be a 5th one now of like some lost recordings.
All right. We had a little technical difficulty. Our camera went down, so hopefully in editing this looks good. I did want to bring up, because we were talking about music, and my friend Lindsay, shout out to Lindsay, she posted this. I should have reposted it, but she posted this website called Every Noise. And it gives you this screen of every genre of music that you could imagine, like subgenres and subgenres. It's like thousands of different words on a screen. And then you can click it. You can click on one of them, and it will give you an example of the sound. Lost Alexander again. And
Yep.
And then, so it'll give you an example of the music, and then it'll have an arrow next to it, and then you click the arrow, and it'll give you examples of the artists that are within that genre. And then on that screen, you can then click on the artists and hear some of their songs, and it's connected to Spotify, so then it gives you some of their albums and stuff. So it's a really cool and wild website for music, for discovering new music and all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, I'll probably share that on like the Wise account so everyone can see that. So if you're hearing this right now, I will share that website, and you guys can go check it out if you forget it.
Yeah, I did see what Aaron's talking about, even though you can't see me. And it's a great tool to really break down how many different genres of music there are out there. Will be mind blowing by following this chart, and I think it's a really cool tool. More than likely, it will be recorded in 440, so be aware of that. And anybody that's interested, just do a little bit of research about 440. A equals 440 hertz, or versus 432 hertz. And we just happen to tune everything that we can to 432, and that's why we use old vintage equipment from the 70s, because they have those adjustments. Some of the newer stuff does too, but I just love that vintage.
Using the pendulum, Alexander, I know I've always said that I couldn't trust it, but I feel like lately that I've been able to get more into a neutral energy around using a pendulum, and I feel like it's being a little more truthful to me. And I think it's, I guess, we've talked about in the past, but like getting out of your wants and stuff like that. And, but I don't know, it's just an interesting thing that I've noticed about myself recently, because I didn't use it for maybe a year or two because I didn't trust it. I didn't trust myself using it, but I started using it a little bit more for things like, when Bella was, my cat, when she was sick, and, Sparta's also having some health issues. So I'll use it for kind of determining that and just stuff like that. So I feel like it's my energy around it has changed, because I feel like I'm calmer and I'm out of my wants, and I'm just like here just to see what it says and just as an observer. And I feel like it's becoming more useful to me.
Well, this is, tools are great. They can be very useful. They can also, lead you down other paths as well. And the key here, and what Aaron's talking about, is to be able to recognize how neutral you are while you're asking the questions that you want clarity about. And so, some people use prayer for this, and there's the I Ching, there's pendulums, there's cards, tarot cards. There's many different ways that people get these messages or downloads or information. But the key is learning to be completely neutral. And this is part of self-development anyway, because getting clear on whether you want to focus on what you want, or getting clear on that you want to focus on what is. And those are kind of two different paths. And I'm interested in following truth and divine guidance myself. And I've learned to set some of my preferences to the side, and I've had a different life since doing that. So when I use a tool such as a pendulum, it's I feel like gotten easier and easier as the years have gone on for me to trust that neutrality and looking for truth even outside of your personal preference is it's a great self-development practice, and it is something that I feel like each individual should do themselves to develop that.
So here's a tricky question. If everything is in divine order, right, then how we interpret the pendulum is going to be in divine order, right? So it's
Yes,
doing its job no matter if we can decipher it or discern it properly or not, right?
yeah. I mean, it's really the emotional tool. It's going to give you an opportunity to sort through your emotions. But you can affect the reading, if you have a preference. And if that's part of the divine order, because see, when people ask me, well, could that be if you get, one answer if you have a preference and you would get another answer if you didn't have a preference, then how is that so-called divine order? Great question. And I feel like that's kind of what you were alluding to
Yeah.
here. And the key to that is if you need to learn the lesson of whether you're neutral or not, then that's part of the divine order of your process and the unfolding of your consciousness, your soul development, and that kind of thing. Because sometimes we have to fail many times to get the lesson of what the lesson was about. So this comes back to faith and trust, and and how people interpret that, and how people interpret these tools is just very interesting to me, and it is part of individual self-development work.
Yeah, and then just getting into some of the stuff I wanted to talk about, and we can end with this. Like, what are some new processes or some healthy actions that you've taken recently and brought into your life that are helping you on your wellness journey, maybe on the physical or beyond?
Well, I always, of course, enjoy mentioning the 5 levels practice, and this is practicing daily in the physical, the mental, the emotional, the energetic, and the spiritual. And I take about 20 to 30 minutes in each one of those levels. Most days, I do take breaks here and there, and this helps me to really check in on all of those levels of and assess myself before I start my day in the public. So doing a calisthenics type of physical workout is what I normally start with because it's the one that I have the most resistance around. So I start my days with what I have the most resistance typically. And then I'll do a vocal toning exercise for the chakras, for the energetic level. And then there's a meditation after that for the mental level. And then after the meditation, there's a gratitude for everything that I have and the people that are in my life, a vocal, external, out loud gratitude. And then that's for the spiritual level. And then normally when I'm in that gratitude and really connecting to gratitude and thankfulness on the deepest of levels, there will be a sensation that comes which activates the emotional level. So I actually work to cry from gratitude on a daily basis. So crying isn't just associated with negative things. So this is an example of my 5 levels practice that I've actually been doing for quite a while, but I continue to get more and more out of it as it develops. And then adding juicing in, I'll just kind of put that as the cherry on top as an added feature of the physical, has really been enjoyable. And I just do that most mornings after my 5 levels practice, and I get all that done before 9 a.m. and then start my day. So what about you? What would you like to share right quick? Something new?
Yeah, I mean, I think, or this year in particular, I really focus on the physical level because working on a computer, you can get lazy and stuff like that. So I've been purposely, doing things like yoga and pickleball. Like pickleball is so much fun. Alexander, have you played pickleball yet?
Yes,
really?
yes. It's been quite a while,
Okay.
but
You're a pioneer of
I
it?
can enjoy that. We're gonna have to get together
Absolutely,
and
yes.
do that sometimes.
Yeah. I always have my racket in my car. So yeah, we'll have to do that. But yeah, pickleball has been fun, and it's been channeling that competition energy. I actually might do a tournament on Saturday in it. I was asked to do it, but one thing I would just add is like yoga nidra has been something that I've kind of introduced to my flow, and then also like a meditation to send love to people. So those two things that I've done pretty regularly on the weekly the last couple months, which has been cool. Like, yeah, yoga nidra is really, really interesting. It kind of puts you in that meditative type of energy, but they say that it's akin to taking a nap or getting a couple hours of sleep when you do it. I don't know how true that is, but you do feel pretty rested.
Yeah, if you can center and really, slow down the mind and slow down the breath, it can be very
I
restful.
mean, I fall asleep, so because it just totally relaxes me. And for those who don't know, it's kind of like a guided meditation where you're laying still, but they're guiding you through checking in throughout all of your body, and then like probably on multiple levels, not like you're not just using your mental to go through the physical, but I think there is some like energetic and maybe even spiritual levels that you're kind of going through within your mind, and then I don't know, and then I fall asleep. So
Well, that shows you need a
yeah,
nap. So.
yeah. But honestly, the combo has really invigorated me. I feel like 3 years younger, so 38.
Interesting.
Because like 39 hit, and I was definitely feeling the effects of how people say, oh, this is what 40 feels like. So it's kind of rolled back the clock a little bit. So I feel more energetic.
Yeah.
Definitely worth it.
Well, this has been a fun conversation, and hope that the listeners are, going to resonate with a slightly different platform. But I enjoy the topics, and I look forward to next release.
Yeah, everyone say goodbye to Picture Alexander. I'm sure he has a big smile on the other end of the black screen.
Yes.
So with that,
always remembering that adaptation is the
flexibility,
the best super.
Yeah. Give us
that's
that.
what we're doing, exemplifying.
Yeah, give us
here.
that line. It's not the strong that survive.
And it's not the smartest that will survive. It's the one that can
exactly.
adapt.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll leave you guys with that. So appreciate you guys. Thank you for checking us out. We'll be back.
Much love.
Thank you for listening to this free version of the Wise podcast. To hear the complete conversation and go deeper into the application of the tools and techniques of the Just Philosophy, head on over to wisewisepodcast.com and become a premium member. You'll get to hear all of our complete conversations, including the complete episodes of our Inward Journey story series and our entire back catalog, and continue your self-development journey with us. We honor your dedication to self-growth, overall wellness, and continuing to ask the wise.
And remember, gradual changes over long periods of time equals lasting results.
Continue on your self-growth journey by visiting thejustphilosophy.com, where you are able to connect personally by booking a private consultation with Alexander in person, by phone, or Zoom. Uncover your authentic self more easily with a human design or destiny card consultation. Here you will gain information about your energetic makeup, personality, and your higher self, as well as navigating your way through your relationships. There are also multiple types of reports available for purchase that help you gain insight into your career, relationships, and opportunities for self-growth. The site also allows you to view a calendar of Alexander's live performances and class schedule, peruse other products such as shirts, CDs, and finally, the revolutionary VibroTune vibrational sound therapy tables. These
Contoured therapy tables allow you to bathe in a vibrational sonic bath of frequencies, bringing you into alignment on all levels. You will be feeling and hearing calming music synced through vibration and frequency. So again, you can grab all this goodness at thejustphilosophy.com, thejustphilosophy.com. The Just Philosophy, as discussed in this podcast, has been developed by Alexander over the last 25 years in his personal studies, private practice, and professional environment. The information discussed is intended for educational purposes only and is not meant as a replacement for conventional medicine. Just remember, knowledge plus experience equals wisdom. Seek the wise. We want to thank you for working on you. Keep shining your light and refining your vibe.